Now, Ukrainian officials say Russia has launched massive missile strikes across Ukraine, causing power and water outages, including in the capital, Kyiv. Now, witnesses there say they heard at least 5 explosions. This as Ukraine is also reporting fierce fighting in the country's east. In his nightly address, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said Ukrainian troops had repelled the latest Russian attacks in the Donetsk region. Fighting has been centered around the strategically important town of Bakhmut and Avdiivka, which Russian forces have been trying to capture for weeks. And our correspondent, Matthias Bollinger, is in Kyiv for us. Hi, Matthias. So reports of explosions in and around Kyiv. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, another attack on the country this morning. We've heard the explosions here in Kyiv. Several places around the city and in the region have been hit by rockets, objects of infrastructure. Now we are hearing that 80% of the people in Kyiv are currently without water supplies. That's because the water facilities, a dam north of the city has been hit, not the dam itself, but facilities next to the dam. And that's something that we've also seen in other cities today. So it was a massive barrage on Ukraine again, like we've seen it a few times in the past 3 weeks, on infrastructure objects, on electricity supply, and also this time on these hydroelectric power stations, an attack that is meant to bring down the infrastructure of the country and make life much more difficult here.
Right, and Matthias, Ukraine says that its forces have held back Russian assaults after fierce fighting in the east. What are you hearing from there?
We're talking mostly about the city of town of Bakhmut and the town of Avdiivka and Bakhmut being in the Donetsk region. And assaults on these two places have been going on for months now. Especially Bakhmut has been the site of heavy fighting for a very long time now, with Russians concentrating a lot of their firepower in this direction and trying to capture the town. Ukraine has repelled all these attacks. There has been minimal movement of the front line, but it's definitely one of the most heavy fought about places in this war, with assaults going on also from the Wagner Group, a private militia that is serving on Russia's side, and that is considered to be extraordinarily ruthless.
All right, that's our correspondent reporting for us there in Kyiv, Matthias Bollinger. As always, thank you, Matthias.
The UN says Turkey and Ukraine have agreed on a plan to move on 16 grain ships in Turkish waters. Dozens of vessels loaded with grain are awaiting inspection for onward passage. Russia has pulled out of a deal allowing Ukrainian grain to be exported through the Black Sea. Now, Russia's war on Ukraine has changed the lives of practically everyone in the country, and in some areas it's speeding up the pace of social change. Only a few years ago, women were barred from certain jobs, like driving a train, for example. But now, more women are taking on new roles and are facing the same dangers as the men. DW's Fanny Fachar reports.
Each time she starts work is a moment of validation for Victoria Kikoy. She's Ukraine's first female train co-driver. Until recently, sexist regulations banned women from the job. It was considered risky to their reproductive health. Now in the war, it really is dangerous for everyone on the trains.
It's hard mentally and physically because you very often hear the air raid alert. I've even seen when missiles hit. We try to suppress these emotions and continue our work because it's not only about our lives. It's about the lives of passengers that also depend on us. We cannot just drop everything and start to panic.
Victoria studied to drive trains even though there was no prospect of getting a job. Then the laws changed and she started work shortly before Russia invaded in February. There's a lot to do. Update logbooks. Check the speed of the train, the signals, the electrical contact line, and speak to passengers. And if something were to happen to the driver, she'd have to take over. Victoria's shift will be at least 12 hours today.
Ready, train yellow.
Trains have become a vital form of transport in this war, and there's never enough staff. Victoria says she will still need to push hard to make it from the co-driver to driver. That top job is still done by a man.
It hasn't completely changed yet. We still need a lot more time. You need to raise a new generation, a young generation with the idea that women have the same rights as men.
Victoria is pushing through the unknown, but she says there is a brighter future for Ukrainian women. One day, she will become a train driver.